Welcome to My Wife, the Casual Fan, where I, Jordan Cooper, discuss the week in pro wrestling with my wife, Samantha, the Casual Fan, who, from what I could gather on the couch yesterday afternoon, I believe slept through the majority of Money in the Bank.
Yes. I woke up at the end though to see. I didn't see the actual match with the bloodline, but I saw the end.
So you miss everything? You were up for little pieces. I saw your eyes open at some point.
Yeah, I saw the women's ladder match. What was after that? Was that
Women's
Cody
ladder
and?
match, then Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor.
Oh yeah, that's when I fell asleep.
Oh, that's when you fell asleep. So,
Mhm.
but you were up for the men's one in the beginning,
Yep.
right? So you were
Yep.
up for the men's ladder match.
Hmm.
Then after that was the who came on after the ladder match?
Was
No,
that Cody?
Ronda and Shayna versus Liv and Raquel, and
I
that
was
made you
cooking
fall
during
asleep,
that.
or
No,
you
I,
slept
I
through that.
no, no, no. That's when I was cooking.
Okay, so your attitude is the best time to cook or do something else is when the women's match comes on.
No, I didn't mean to do that. Because I came back in here for the women's ladder match. I get mad when people use the women's match as their cool down spot or whatever you call it.
Right. Well, you heat up. You're making you're cooking, so that's a heat
Yeah,
up spot. And then after that was Riddle versus Gunther.
yeah.
Okay, Drew McIntyre came back. Did you
Hmm.
care?
No, I don't. I think I must have been asleep for that because I don't remember that.
Right. And then how about Cody versus Dom,
I woke up for parts of that
which is
because I
odd because
remember.
I don't think anyone wakes up for anything that Dominic Mysterio does in the ring.
No, I was there for Cody though.
Okay, but Brock didn't come out
No,
right at all.
no.
But the ladder matches were good, right?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that really the only reason we watch it? I mean, and of course the bloodline stuff, but I paid more attention to the women's ladder match. We talked about a spot I had never seen where they both got handcuffed to each other
Mm,
when Asuka, oh God, Bailey and Becky got handcuffed
right.
together.
That was one of the best uses of a plot voucher I've seen in pro wrestling. They don't do those that much.
Hmm.
A plot voucher is when it's the opposite of a red herring. So, like a red herring in any story would be like, we're going to include this thing that you think is pivotal,
Hmm.
only to swerve and it has nothing. We're going to dangle this in front of you, and then it's not going to play into the plot. The opposite is a plot voucher where something is put into the story that you don't think means anything, and then it ends up meaning something. So, for instance, the handcuffs were introduced by Zoe Stark because obviously Becky and Trish Stratus have a feud going on. So in order to stop Becky from getting the briefcase, they were going to handcuff her to the ropes or whatever, like the
Hmm.
corner ropes, and she fought it off. But she already had one of the cuffs on her wrist, and obviously she doesn't have the keys; she can't take them off. And you go, okay, well, she got out of that. Well, no, the purpose of that spot was so that when they were climbing up, that Io Sky had something to prevent both of them, especially since Io went up earlier and Bailey knocked over the ladder. And they're supposed to be allies, they're supposed to be friends. So like, and then Io returned the favor by saying, screw you, Bailey. I'm gonna attach you to Becky, and then I'm gonna go up and get it. I thought it was inventive. Obviously, we've never seen it before because we don't typically introduce handcuffs into matches. But I think
Hmm.
overall, I think the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was the best one they've ever done. I mean, they've done like I think this is the sixth one, but I know that the men's match has a couple of more, daredevil spots in it. But I think the story told in the women's match was actually much better. I think that the whole story of the men's match was, please God, don't let Logan Paul win this thing.
I think though, like when you compare the women of WWE to the women of AEW, I think that there were a lot more like high spots or like more dangerous spots. Of course, not compared to the men, but I mean, there was some pretty good stuff. What was it? Why can't I think of her name? Zelina Vega did the code red onto the
Onto
ladder.
the ladder bridge, right? Because
I thought that
that's
that
now an
looked
in vogue
great.
spot in ladder matches where they set up the ladder
Yeah.
like this, and that plays a part in
Mhm.
some either they get laid on it or they have a move on top of it. I mean, we saw in the men's match there were two of those type of spots. A lot of times in the past they made the ladders so they would break.
Mhm.
Do you think it's more effective to you? Do you? I know that you're the one that gets so concerned about the performer's
Yeah.
safety. Are you more concerned when like tables break and ladders break, or it seems like from watching it next to you on the couch that it feels like when the announcer's table doesn't break, it's like it seems like you're more liable to get hurt.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I think. But I mean, honestly, I have no idea. Like with the break or the not break in my mind, just with physics, like it would hurt worse if not bending. Ladders don't really seem to bend or break until you're Wardlow jumping across the ring onto it, and then it breaks. But um, I really like it, and I think that the women don't get enough credit for kind of what they do. The men do fight more aggressively and are more brutal. But a lot of times when you see matches of these women on the indies, when they're doing intergender or when they're doing more of like hardcore stuff, a lot, I mean, and not everyone that kind of came up through NXT developmental, but it's just like these women can fight a lot harder. And I almost wonder if like it's not the network holding them back and saying that they have to fight pretty.
Well, I don't think they fight. I think they fight much uglier than they did 20 years ago,
Well,
or even
sure.
10 years ago.
But do you think those women are choosing to not be as brutal as the men, or is that the guidance? Because we know that, like in the hardcore match, Ruby and Willow, they only said one person in that whole match could bleed, and they don't typically do that with men. So I don't know how much of it is the women not wanting to fight harder, or is it just the expectation that these women are not there yet to fight like the men?
Well, I mean, a lot of it comes down to experience. I
Hmm.
mean, to me,
We
it's
see.
not just it's not to me, it's not a gender issue as much of an experience issue. Obviously, in WWE, their women's roster has, I think, much more experience than the AEW women's roster.
Hmm.
And then also, when you're on the indies, like there's no stopping you from really doing anything, right? Promoters aren't you're not signed to a contract or whatever. You want to go out and beat yourself up, go for it. I mean, we've seen, in GCW with Rina Yamashita, being going through glass tables or whatever. I mean, and Masha Slamovich
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like no one's gonna stop them. I think all these women are capable of doing that. It just comes down to when they're paying you a salary. There's a difference between Ricochet doing a spot with how much experience he has and the women's roster that may not have experience doing those type of moves. It's not even just experience in wrestling, just experience those type of moves, like that spot with Ricochet and Logan Paul.
Hmm.
Ricochet saving that spot was incredible. I still don't think they should have done it anyway. From a performer standpoint, how much credit do you have to give Logan Paul, of all people? This is like what, his fifth match ever or something like that. The men's money ladder match, I don't view Logan Paul as like a celebrity. Like I view like he could do these things as good as anyone else on the roster, pretty much. Of course, piecing together an actual match, I mean, he needs to be carried for those types of things. But from an athletic standpoint, like he's just as good. And I mean, truthfully, in that men's match, I think he got beat up the most. I mean, that spot, the Spanish fly off the ropes, that spot is not supposed to. The thing is, that spot is not supposed to happen that way. Like we've seen the Lucha Bros do that exact spot
Hmm.
in AEW before. The ladder teeters over, and then both competitors land gently on the top rope. They already have the ladder to hold on to maintain their balance, and then both springboard off of that and through the tables on the outside. This one, the ladder just kind of fell, and then I thought the ladder was going to fall, and they do the standard kind of crotch spot that you see a lot of times in ladder matches, right? You've seen where they put the ladder over, and then the competitor, the performer, spreads their legs so that their crotch goes into the rope, and they sell.
Oh yeah.
Right? We've seen that plenty of times before. So I thought that was going to be the spot, especially since they didn't land on the top. Logan Paul pretty much landed on the canvas, and Ricochet landed like on the second rope or whatever. And then Logan Paul got back up, and they tried to save the spot as they're teetering like this. And then once they flew this way, I'm like, for that half a second, I'm like, this could end in disaster. Like, this could end in someone landing right on their head, on their neck, or something. I mean, it could be something. Look at the Dante Martin.
That's what I was going to say. I knew the second they set that spot up how wobbly they were, like with Dante. I was like, this kid's getting hurt. One thing that MJF said that I feel, I don't know is true or not, but he was like, the fans demand this of us. No, they don't. We would have rather you reset and do that spot again. And sure, there would be a couple schmucks that would be like, oh, it's not real, yada yada. But the majority of us, the casual fans, if you will, would rather you just miss the spot or scratch it instead of just trying to commit and go forward. That's not us. That's your ego, and I need you to take responsibility for it.
So MJF has an ego pee-pee?
No. Well, I guess MJF's
the whole thing is that he has an ego pee-pee.
Yeah, but it's different because an ego pee-pee means that you're hiding it. MJF is proud of his ego. He's just out there and he's telling you that all he needs is his ego stroke. So it's different.
So for it would make you, it would be more appealing to you, being that you have an attachment to the performer in addition to the character, that it's not a necessity. If you miss a spot like that, then that spot just doesn't exist in the match, and you'd rather the performers do spots that are safer than as planned, than you believe inside the performers' heads that they believe that they're letting the crowd down by missing a spot, and you think that most people don't think that way. I mean, you have other people. I mean, dude, if they failed to do that spot, and it's just like they went down on the canvas and they just punched each other, so it was like obvious that something was supposed to happen there that they didn't do. You would see on Twitter, there'd be schmucks on Twitter going, "What was that? That was a botch. What a botch! Ricochet, the botch master. Logan Paul, with all his inexperience, shouldn't be doing these things." I mean, that has to get into the performers' heads of like, well, we don't
do you want to kill? Do you want to kill Logan Paul, or do you want to have your feelings
I do.
hurt?
I hope they did. I was.
No, we like Logan Paul. He's entertaining. But no, I think if the performer, to a certain extent, and this is me doing years and years of therapy to actually learn this stuff, to a certain extent, like, you can't let them in your head. There's going to be idiots that hate on you. There's going to be idiots that hate on us. For like the 100 people that watched this, there's going to be idiots that don't like it. And so you've got to protect yourself and your opponent versus protecting your ego. And I just think that, like, I would rather you not take a risk to injure yourself and risk your entire career to get one spot than to just, improvise or scratch something else.
Maybe they're just so confident, though. But I could see your point of view, but in their heads, do you think that they're not like, they don't think it's reckless? They're like, no, I could do. Ricochet's going, no, I could save this spot. We could do this.
Is it his ego though, or his logic?
I don't know. Well, that's the point. That's essentially what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Did he do it because he, as an artistic performer, as a creative artist that's known for a lot of fancy moves and stuff, did he think that, no, I am good enough to get this spot to work? And from all intents and purposes, I think he did an amazing job of what they even pulled off, and no one got seriously injured, and they did go through one of the tables. I mean, it wasn't the best looking spot, but compared to how they started, when they flipped over, I was I was like, this is the spot. Like, I couldn't imagine this looking like it did. I just assumed that someone's foot is hitting a rope and they're going to just come crashing onto the apron, and someone is going to not even hit the table, just go straight land. I mean, Logan Paul didn't rotate enough as it was, and it could have been worse. So, like, in that half a second, as someone that knows kind of how these spots work, I'm like, this is nuts that they even did this at that point,
If
and were
Ricochet
able to
were
pull it off
working,
as well as they did.
if Ricochet were working with somebody more experienced, it would make more sense to take the risk. But Logan Paul, like, you can only protect him so much because how much of that is on his rotation and stuff. It just,
Do you think Logan Paul was the one that at that moment was more looking to get the spot done, but because of his
maybe.
inexperience? Maybe it's the type of thing where in that fraction of a second where they're probably communicating like move up here and let's go. Maybe it was more Logan Paul who, because of his inexperience, going, nope, let's get this spot over with. And Ricochet was more like if he would have said I'm no go, like Ricochet would have had no problem with it. Maybe it was more like, I almost think that it's more. I think it's more that the naivete of Logan Paul, and especially with what he does in these matches, the fact that Logan Paul didn't win the briefcase, like, it makes sense that Logan Paul wants to be in one of these car crash ladder matches and do something that gets memed on social media. Like, that's who he is. And I think at the moment is like, well, we got to get this. This is the spot. And he needs to get this spot. And even if he gets injured, who cares? He needs to get the spot.
I think that's the difference between the way I watch wrestling and the way a lot of people do, because I don't worry about big injuries. I worry about like torn, I don't know, like a rolled ankle or a sprained ankle or like popped elbow, things that like is very normal for them, like a normal amount of pain. But for me, it does take me out of the thing. We talk about like, there's this conversation because of Kenny's Tiger Driver, whatever, this big conversation on social media about, is it our job to care about what they do? And ultimately, I'm not going to say they shouldn't. I think that they're being reckless. And if they want to take that responsibility, they need to take it. Don't put it off on the fans. Because you're the one at the end of the day that chooses to do the move or not. So it's because of you, not the fans. But I do think that there's a conversation around it. I don't know if you remember, like, I joke that I'm like having literal trauma responses after Dante, because they showed his whole ass backwards foot on TV, and it really, like, I had like a trauma response. So for a while I don't know if you remember, like, I was scared every time. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna break, it's gonna break. So for me, it takes me out of it completely. And I go, I don't even think I like wrestling because it stresses me out.
But the thing that I think that calms you now more, because I've heard you say it multiple times since then, watching on the couch, is that when they do a sell spot that involves like the doctor or something, you know that if they're showing everything on television, it's most likely they're okay. It's when they go, they hear the commentators talk and they're not going to show anything anymore. That's when you're more concerned, because they're unlikely to, like, oh, someone just twisted their arm behind their head and their spleen is that they got poked and now all the blood is rushing out and they need to get a hospital, right? Like, dude, they wouldn't be showing that if it's not part of the storyline, if it's not part of kayfabe to some extent, like, they wouldn't be showing it on Collision when Roderick Strong is being, stretchered out because of Samoa Joe's attack. Like, it's like, dude, we've seen MJF get stretchered out when they put the mask not even in the right spot. It's like, if they're showing it. But when we were at the Cincinnati Dynamite with Hangman's concussion, like, we were there, we couldn't see what they were showing on TV. So at that point, you're like, is this real? I'm like, I don't know. This seems like this would be an outcome that this is how they get to a better match and whatever. I could see them pulling this
for a long time. You thought it was
Right,
Like,
and
like you said, as part of the match.
until it got uncomfortably too long that
Yeah,
anything was happening, that I'm like, "Oh, no, this is a." They wouldn't have, like, 4 minutes of just John Moxley just walking around and, like, it just
talking shit.
especially
Yeah,
Dynamite is so jam-packed with stuff, it's like, they wouldn't have this, and then if you saw it on the television broadcast, like, once it they didn't even show they weren't even showing Hangman. So, like, oh,
agreed.
at that point, you know that something really went wrong. So I think that helps your anxiety. That most of the time you're seeing a sell job of an injury, and you know that if they're showing it, that okay, they're probably fine, right? Brian Danielson isn't having a seizure, really, because they wouldn't be
Right.
showing it on TV.
Well, with the Logan Paul thing though, it did take them a second. Was it the Logan Paul where they did take them a second to like play it back, and I was like, they're not
Mhm.
playing it back. Is he okay?
And then once they
So
did, you're like, okay,
yeah,
he's probably okay. Of course, that spot is meant to write them both off of the match.
yeah.
You do a spot like that, it's like, oh, once that spot happens, I'm like, oh, Logan Paul ain't winning the briefcase. Like that's the spot
If
that's going to
you Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. If you get injured, do you have to announce it? Like, let's say Logan Paul got a concussion. Is that something he would keep private because he wouldn't want to like look like he
well,
doesn't
that's
know
up
what
to
he's
them at
doing?
the time. There's the referee's supposed to come and hold your hand, and he's supposed to
No,
squeeze
no,
when
no.
you're all right or something. If he could be like, I'm horrible, and just still go, I'm good. Squeeze the referee's hand or something, whatever they do, and tell the ref I'm good. I mean, it's up to. I mean, what else are you supposed to do? You have to believe the performer.
No, 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 no. I mean, like after the match, like everybody who has a concussion, it seems like that they don't, because of the concussion, have the wherewithal to stop. They're just going on muscle memory. Like that's what it seems like every person who's had a serious concussion talks about. What I mean is if his ego is not letting him say like out loud that that spot caused him a concussion. Like he might have gone to the back and they've been like, ah, you have like this mild concussion type thing.
Well, he posted on social media. He posted this. He had like a big cut or something on his shoulder, on his back or something.
Okay,
It's Logan Paul. Anything that happens to him, he's gonna post on fucking Twitter and
you're right.
YouTube and shit, right? He'll be on TikTok. Fucking doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to him, right? And then we had Damian Priest winning the men's briefcase, and you were surprised by that.
I was. But then I don't remember what show we watched, recap show that was kind of talking about him like really deserving it. And the LA Knight has his own momentum as it is, and that he doesn't need the briefcase as much. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And then that was it Alex that was saying that they've actually been writing this storyline and like dropping nuggets for like conflict between
Yeah,
uh
the Judgment
Finn
Day
Balor.
breaking up to some
Mhm.
extent. Yeah, I could see that. But I mean, like you're over. LA Knight is over when you're in London and Pete Dunne is in the match, who's from England, the
Yeah.
hometown, whatever. And they gave him the spot. I'm happy on SmackDown in that like triple threat match or whatever. And they gave him the spot. They ended with him on top of the ladder holding the briefcase to show like I'm gonna get it tomorrow, and everyone's singing for him. Like that's great. But once they show that on SmackDown, it's like okay, he ain't winning the briefcase, right? Like
Right.
I mean, obviously I didn't think so anyway. It's like the way that WWE book stuff is like, if you see something happy from someone, that means they're going to do something awful to them. And they're making up for the fact that, oh, yeah, we booked you to awfully this next thing. All right. That's how they do it.
Mhm.
So like LA, LA Knight and Butch are on the ladder and they're doing the punching back and forth. And LA, Butch is getting booed, right? They're like LA Knight, we want LA Knight, LA Knight, LA Knight, and they use that for like a near a false finish to some extent. He's going up, going up, going up, and then finally Damian Priest comes and ruins all the fun. But I wasn't like shocked. I thought that it's going to be one of three people. It's going to be LA Knight, Logan Paul, or Damian Priest. Damian Priest being like the dark horse. Everyone
Mhm.
else, like Shinsuke Nakamura wasn't going to win it or anything, right? And the same thing for the women's match. The women's match, like it makes sense for Io Sky to win it, but I wouldn't have been shocked if Becky Lynch or Trish Stratus and they introduced the briefcase into their feud or something for SummerSlam. I think the most shocking thing was I mean it's awful to do. It's the worst type of storytelling of in that women's tag match. Just for no reason, no foreshadowing, no nothing. Ronda just chokes out Ronda Rousey and costs them the match. Just like I
For
don't know
no
how they're
reason.
going to justify it. It's going to be like you've been whatever. Like, dude, you had a tag title. You purposely lost a championship. And Shayna Baszler is not someone that they put titles on often at all. So who knows what's going to happen? Are they on Raw, SmackDown? I have no idea. I think they're on SmackDown. Shayna's going to cut some type of promo. And the way that they're setting this up, they're setting this up for Ronda Rousey to be the babyface.
Why do they keep trying?
I don't know. The dude, do you view Ronda ever as a babyface at all? Do you
I
ever get
literally
any?
hate her. I hate her for no reason. I hate her more than I hate Daniel Garcia. I do have a reason though. Like I just don't like the way she's been presented. I don't like the things that I've read about her. Like she just I mean, I told you she has the charisma of wet cardboard.
Especially as a babyface. Like if she was a
Yeah.
heel, she could do the. I mean, she does promos where I'm just wondering, like, how do you expect anyone to ever like you? You're just like, yeah, it feels like you're going through the motions, even if you're not going through the motions.
I don't even know what she's doing because it's like you do you even love wrestling? Like I don't understand why you're here. Like I just feel like the she doesn't even go here meme.
So do you get like old school Brock vibes, like Brock Lesnar? Like we all know as fans that Brock Lesnar is like, I don't want to travel. Like just call me in. I'll do a 3-minute match and pay me $1 million. Like that's. I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler. I think he's an excellent wrestler, but like he's known for, I'm doing this for the money and
Hmm.
not like the love of the art or anything. And you get those same vibes from like Ronda Rousey of like in her first run. Of course, you didn't see her first run when she came in with Kurt Angle and everything in
Or
the
Brock's.
WrestleMania or Brock's either, right? But she came in and she looked good. But then the crowd turned on her heading into WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. That's when Becky Lynch won both titles in the main event in 2019. Uh, how does WWE not think that that's gonna happen? Like, I just don't understand. It's the same thing with Charlotte. It's like they take Ronda and Charlotte, if they just play themselves, are two of the best heels in WWE. Just be yourself. And it's nothing against them as people, just the way that you portray yourselves just on camera
Hmm.
without having to try will get the opposing person cheered more. So just do that. Just make Charlotte a monster heel. Just make Ronda Rousey that she'll kill everyone type of thing. It almost feels like the performers want to be baby faces, even though that I could see the writers' room of however many writers they have going, yeah, this ain't gonna work, but this is what the 77-year-old guy wants.
Is what they
So
said.
so I guess we'll try to make this happen again. We'll try to get Bianca booed against Charlotte. Okay, let's see if this works. And everyone's just like, now this isn't gonna. There's nothing we can do to make this happen.
Well, and the thing with Charlotte is that nobody likes a nepo baby. That's why I know, like, that's why this Jack Perry turn could really work. It's really easy to hate a nepo baby. Like, we don't want to see you come from privilege and just excel constantly. And because Charlotte is so good, it would be better for her to take that, like to play that heel. And I'm sure that she's done that and probably very boring, but we don't like the character of Charlotte Flair. We don't like Rhonda. I don't like Rhonda because like it just she just doesn't seem to care. Like her promos are cut with no passion. And I mean her wrestling style isn't interesting to me. So she's just like to me one of those times where like you once said that it's not that all women comics are bad, it's just that only 30% of any female comic gets to be seen. So like where you are used to seeing average and below average males, you don't get to see that with women. And I
Right.
feel like that she's maybe in that range of she is below average, but because she's a woman, she's just terrible.
Well, also because she's a name. I mean, there's a difference. I mean, she made her name in MMA more than wrestling, and that's the whole thing with her and Shayna Baszler. I mean, Shayna Baszler came from MMA also, didn't have much of an MMA career, but was friends with Ronda Rousey and got Ronda involved in professional wrestling. And from what I could tell from some of the reports, is that Ronda's on her way out of WWE. Like her contract's going to be up fairly soon, and she wants to have a feud with Shayna Baszler as like and probably put Shayna over on her way out because that's what she wants to do. And the avenue that WWE always uses to death is tag team partners turn on each other,
Right.
especially when no one there cares about the women's tag team titles. It's like you just won the tag team titles. You just beat Alba Fire and Isla Dawn from NXT to unify the titles. And next thing you know, 3 weeks later, you're breaking up. And now we're the tag teams anymore. Storytelling wise, I mean, it could have been done better. It could. Does anyone care? The thing is, does anyone care about this? The problem is when you're going to present Ronda as the babyface and Shayna as the heel. If Ronda's not going to come across as a babyface, no one's going to care about this. It would make so much more sense if they did it the other way around. If Ronda left as a monster heel and put Shayna over that way, but
I couldn't play a heel though. I can understand if it's true the rumors we heard where Ronda didn't like being a heel, she didn't like being booed. That shit would get in my head, much like you said earlier. That would get in my head. But I know that I don't go out here and put my body on display for everybody to judge. So I can get.
I thought the whole thing is that you show your love by booing.
I mean, if you love them, but a lot of times the booing is also just I don't like you,
or go away.
Yeah,
that's the worst.
Yeah, when I first started watching, Bobby Lashley had go away heat. I was so sick of Bobby Lashley when we first started, like when I started paying attention, that house show that we went to. And then we were going to WrestleMania, so we're like, we might as well watch for a couple of months to know what the hell's going on.
And then you're just sick and tired of seeing Bobby Lashley.
So sick of it. Now I don't mind because he's not on every single week.
Right. A lot of times, you hate people because they're just there too much.
The overexposure really kills the character, I think.
But how about the ones that you do like? Is there any amount of Eddie Kingston on your screen that will make you sick of Eddie Kingston?
Me personally, probably. Like, well, we have this conversation all the time. I'm terrified of getting sick of Jericho because I love his shenanigans.
Everyone gets sick of Jericho at some point. It happens. I know. I'm telling you what happens. There will be a point. You just have a high Jericho tolerance, right?
And I'm new. I only have 2 years.
There is a point where there's too much Jericho. I'm telling you. I know they say, it's like you can't have too much of a good thing or whatever it is. In moderation, anything's fine. In moderation, I'm agree with you. I like Chris Jericho in moderation, but my tolerance for Chris Jericho lasts typically he quote reinvents himself, and then in about maybe 6 weeks, I'm tired of it. Right? It lasts 6 months, but at some point, you're gonna want this guy to go away and come back as someone else.
Right.
I can't believe you haven't gotten to that point yet.
I haven't. I mean, I'm kind of sick of the Jericho Appreciation Society, but it's still it's working for me. But he's so funny. His self-deprecation, it's the little things that make me like him. Especially on commentary. I know everybody hates him on commentary because he screams, but if you just listen to what he's saying, he's so funny. What kind of man comes out here without wearing a shirt and he's shirtless?
Right, it's only stuff that he does, right? That's the whole point of it's obnoxious that you can come out and have everyone sing your song. Who does that? Right? It's it's obvious. Well, those are the good parts. But you have to deal with 17 trillion other things that are just, please stop it. Please go away.
Yeah.
You know what another thing that never seems to go away? The bloodline. Obviously, if you watch SmackDown, if you watch WWE, the show is centered around this Roman Reigns with the 74-minute entrance, right? That's what we always joke around. You should have gone to cook during Roman's entrance, right? That's all you have to do. So what did you think? I know the first 25 minutes of this 33-minute match does trust me, it doesn't matter that
I
much.
know.
It really didn't. But the last 5 to 7 minutes was excellent. So what are your thoughts on how it played out in general? That Solo didn't turn on Roman, right? We had a ref bump where
Of
I think
course.
Jimmy got the pin on Roman. They did the 1D, and the ref wasn't there to count, which is a common thing in bloodline matches in general. Roman stacked both of them, and they kicked out. And then eventually, Jey pins Roman for the first time in 3.5 years. Right, the last person that did it is laughably Baron Corbin, and who doesn't do much anything now. Did you like did you like the whole story beats there at the end? Did you? I mean, was this satisfying to you? Was this good for the continuation of the story? Where do you think it goes? I mean, obviously you've analyzed a show like Supernatural to death for God knows how many years. This is people call this storyline it's cinema, right? This is a lot of exposition and people emoting for long periods of time and talking to each other. Obviously, it was great in the arena. I thought the sequencing at the end was excellent. But you're the casual fan. What do you think?
I think I told you this. I was like, WWE only burned me once. So I was shocked that Jey was able to get a pin. I think I wish they would go back, right? They dropped the ball. Was it WrestleMania or was it? Yeah. Because
You're talking about
I'm getting
Cody at
myself.
WrestleMania.
No, right. That's not what I was talking about. I was thinking about Sammy.
Sammy was at
when they were in
Elimination Chamber.
Elimination Chamber. Yeah, so we've all kind of been like, oh, they're dragging this out for no reason. And then everybody was like, no, you said this. The story's with Jey. The story's with Jey. I don't know that was ever the point, but if they can, because they've dragged this out way too long, but if they can make it Jey's story, like to give that, and it's not for the title or anything, but it does kind of further break down Roman's character, right? Like this is just one more notch in the belt. And as you have always said, like the story would be so much more impactful if he didn't have the belt, where he was losing everything.
Right. I've always thought that they could play the story out even without the title. That Cody should have won, and they could. This could be a whole year-long thing just without the title involved at all. I agree with you. To me, the most interesting part of this match was when the Usos kicked out, and Roman was the first time we've pretty much seen on screen where he was lost. He as the character of I don't have I don't have confidence. I don't even fake confidence. And he's supposed to be the tribal chief, and it was Solo Sikoa that had to look at him and go, "What are you doing? Let's come on!" Like this,
Right.
like I'm with you. Why are you? What like? And this whole plays back into the promo before about like the Uso saying, "Well, why can't Solo be the tribal chief?" And Roman chuckled, right? So they're setting up intrigue with Solo's allegiances, especially since he's the younger brother of the Usos. The SummerSlam match seems inevitable to be Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso for the title. From my perspective, I would have. It's hard to say. Like this is it's hard to say. I like the impact of Jey pinning Roman here, but from watching SummerSlam perspective, it ruins that match.
Right, because he won't get the pin then, right? Because that's how they
right.
write.
Look at what we talked about before with Butch. It's like, oh, they gave him this thing, right? They gave because you're going to lose tomorrow, right? I mean, like it's that type of thing, and that's why I suspected that the Usos would win beforehand. Before I said all week, the Usos are winning this match. They go, why? From a booking perspective, not a storytelling perspective, that you want the Usos to remain strong, so people think that Jey Uso has a credible shot at Roman's title at SummerSlam. So it makes no sense for the Roman will beat Jey Uso. End of story. That's like an inevitability, right? Do they want the Usos to lose twice in 2 PLEs in a row? Probably not. So the Usos are going to prevail in a match where Roman can't lose the title. So most likely the Usos pin Solo, and maybe they make it so that the reason they were even able to get that done is that Solo and Roman were not on the same page, right? And Roman goes for a Superman punch and hits Solo by accident, and that's what leads to the pin. And now Roman and Solo are on the same page heading into SummerSlam, and you go, well, maybe Jey does have a shot. But if you're someone that watches, wrestling programming for a long time, it's like, oh, Jey got the pin on Roman visually, as well as the 3 count, obviously. Well, that just means that's obviously SummerSlam. It's Roman wins, but how? Yeah. And it kind of it decreases even the thought in my head that they're gonna pull it out. If they didn't do that, they could probably sell me in that half an hour match that they're gonna do, because bloodline matches take forever. That they're gonna have that spot where it's like, holy shit, maybe Jey does beat Roman here at SummerSlam. But that pin yesterday just cements the fact that I ain't buying on any of that shit. Like, Roman is winning. It's just a matter of, is Solo going to stay there or whatever? Is maybe Solo turns and then Roman still wins. Like, from my logical brain perspective, Jey pinning Roman yesterday kind of just decreases the amount of possibilities for SummerSlam, which for me, like, ruins some of the fun.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that you have taught me about that. Like,
that's not a good thing, though. I shouldn't be teaching you that, because I'm decreasing the level of fun that you could have watching the shows.
No, I don't have fun watching WWE because you can't. I mean, but that's how I started. I knew that you couldn't invest in these stories, and I foolishly did invest in one story, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you can't. So of course Roman's gonna win. So you're right. Like, who cares at this point? Even when Roman does lose, because he has to lose eventually. Even when he does lose, I don't even feel like it's going to be satisfying, because everybody's just going to still be bitter. Like, you should have done it with Cody, or you should have done it with Jey, or why now? Like, I think putting Roman on this pedestal, like, only ends in disappointment. And we should just get the disappointment out of the way and start building something new. But
yeah, but people love it. This bloodline is cinema. This should be an Oscar, Emmy award-winning. I mean, look at the facial expressions that Roman gives. I mean, why aren't we giving him awards?
I think the cinema is the stories that everybody on Twitter is creating, right? Like the fan and the fantasy booking and essentially fan fiction people are writing. Like, that is what's fun. If it has the potential to be, right? Like, it could be with all of these intricacies where Jey being the only one to challenge him for like head of the table or whatever. Like, it would be amazing storytelling for him to come out on top. Like, not that they planned it that way, but that's long-term storytelling or long-term.
Yeah, but it's WWE, and you know that they don't. They really they just luck into stuff.
Yeah, they lucked into. That's what I was saying earlier. I think that they only lucked into this because they were like, oh yeah, everybody said that we could carry this on with Jey, and then they're gonna like carry it on with Solo, and then they're gonna bring someone in else to carry it on. Like,
right, they got other Samoans. Tama Tonga, I think, is a free agent. They can bring him in. Right? Yeah. There's tons of people in that family. Rikishi could come back, and he won't obviously, wrestle, but he could be involved in it. Obviously, they always have The Rock in the back pocket at some point. I mean, dude, this thing may never end. And I think maybe you're right. I think right now, people, I don't want to discount people's fun. If you're having fun with it, that's fine. But I mean, I think a lot of people are like getting invested in stuff that, like, we may be in the same spot like 2 years from now. Like, people are going, oh, obviously this is leading up to WrestleMania. Cody finally beats Roman, and then we move on. It's like, dude, we're only in the 3rd inning. I mean, like, dude, how long are these fucking innings? I mean, like,
right.
It gets
pay-per-view cycles. Point. What's going on?
Right. It seems like you're much more invested in the long-term storytelling of Eddie Kingston and John Moxley. And this is the first time on Dynamite that we saw Renee actually get involved in a storyline to some extent. Like typically, even when she was interviewing Hangman during the feud with him and Mox, she was still acting like a backstage reporter and an interviewer. And even though Hangman addressed her as like, tell your husband X, Y, and Z. But this is the first time where Renee, like the thing that I don't understand, you maybe you could explain to me, because I didn't even understand it at the time, that Renee was pissed off at Moxley and then turned and told Eddie Kingston to fix it. So like, what are they introducing here as far as like, because they're bickering. I mean, essentially they're bickering amongst themselves. Like, because Eddie hates Claudio, and John Moxley is like, forget about that Chikara bullshit. You know, that's what the feud from 10 years ago. Like, stop it and whatever.
Yeah.
And then Renee has to interject herself in. Do you think Renee's going to play any part in? I mean, it's not going to be paid off anytime soon. Eddie's going off to the G1 in New Japan, so I mean that he's not going to be here. Is that going to pay off? Are you more invested with Renee's participation, or do you think this is just like it's a scene that they created for this one episode, and it's not like, don't expect Renee to get involved in anything?
That is my first. That was my first instinct, just seeing like, oh, that was like a nice little piece. But then after seeing everyone's reaction online that they really liked Renee being in that role. And in the show, it's established within the canon of the universe that is his wife. So I really like that, right? Like, I get a sense, because they are like, they're real life friends in the canon. They are really, really old friends. So I can see Renee having to have broken up fights. Like, that this is not the first time Mox and Eddie have been fighting like this. And I think at this point, Renee's telling Eddie, like, you have got to fix this, being like, get your shit over with Claudio, get it over. And then so you and Mox can heal whatever you guys have. I think that she's telling Eddie that he has to squash his beef with Claudio. That's the way I took it.
Do you think that'll ever happen? Do you think that'll actually happen?
I hope so. I would love, but Eddie still hasn't beat Jericho. So, I don't want to say that I don't have faith, but that could be a great story, because it has to have Eddie versus Claudio at some point.
Right. People are thinking Death Before Dishonor, but I mean, Eddie's literally going to be in Japan. He can't do that pay-per-view. I'm going to I would think that would be the match for like Grand Slam, maybe All In.
What is Battle about?
Right. One of the, I mean, it's a big enough Eddie versus Claudio for the Ring of Honor world title. I mean, I'm not a big fan of even having the title doesn't mean anything at this point. But you believe that your interpretation of how they're telling the story is that Eddie and Mox will hash everything out once Eddie squashes his beef with Claudio, either by beating him or joining him or something. You don't think this leads to a further rift where now they're on opposite. Now it's Eddie Kingston versus John Moxley at All In or something, something like that.
Oh yeah, I actually, like, what I was thinking was, like, when I was telling that story was the course over a long time. I think with Eddie and Mox's friendship, and with how volatile and like violent they both are, it's believable that these two men can love each other and like just beat the shit out of each other. So I would love to see them have a fight, and then, like you said, Renee still be involved and her be like, that's not what I meant. But yeah, I think Eddie and Mox, it has to be a fight between them, but they don't heal until Eddie gets over Claudio. Because once Eddie and Claudio have their fight, Eddie as a person will be like, okay, I'm over it now. That's what I think.
I think what would be compelling. I'm typically not a big fan of this dynamic, especially with John Moxley. That they do Eddie versus Claudio with John Moxley as the special referee. Right? Because obviously he has allegiances to both sides, and that's what makes it more compelling.
Yeah.
right? But of course, then you're now wasting John Moxley in a referee spot on a big show, which I mean, it gets him on, and we both know it doesn't matter if he's the referee, he's going to find some way to bleed. He's going to bleed at some point. Someone's hitting him. There's going to be a ref bump. He's going to find some way to have his head, blood go down his face.
MJF did a guest referee spot, and it wasn't bad at all. And so I don't know that,
but not in that dynamic. He did the referee spot as the biased referee, because remember,
True.
it was like Sean Spears versus Wardlow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, if you win, and I'm the referee, and it's like, obviously he's looking to screw Wardlow, and he tried to screw Wardlow. This is not the I'm friends with both people type of thing, and now I'm the referee in the middle. I'm not sure the last time AEW has ever done that, and maybe someone could post it in the comments, right? If I just happen to forget the last time there was that type of referee dynamic. But is it the best story? I don't know, but it's a story that I would like to see. I mean, from a subjective opinion, it's like, no, that sounds interesting. I want to see Eddie versus Claudia with John Moxley as the guest referee.
That's a more interesting way than just Eddie and Mox have to fight, and then Eddie and Claudio has to fight, it's a fine enough story, but it would be nice to have an interesting take that is not just the basic, we don't like each other, let's fight.
Talking about two people that don't like each other.
Wait, hold on. Let me go back. Does Eddie ever end up joining the BCC like as a
no, I don't think so. I
don't think he fits there either.
I wouldn't want to see that. Eddie the character is so much better when he's by himself.
Yeah.
When he could be parts of groups at time, like when he's like, yeah, he's with the Young Bucks, he's with the Elite, and he's like, I don't like you, but I want to kill that guy. So let's go. Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna pick this guy. Here's the no-neck Japanese guy. He's with us. Okay, let's go. Right? Like, he's much better in that role than as a subsidiary character in some faction. He's just like he's got his guys, right? He's got Ortiz, he's got people, but he's not like dependent on like, yeah, I'm gonna come out as part of the group with my little uniform or anything. Like, he ain't that person, right? I don't want to see him in that role.
No.
MJF and Adam Cole. Some people are like, oh, they're gonna do the buddy thing. This is gonna be like, they're gonna have some comedy shtick and everything. Should the world champion and Adam Cole be in some type of like, oh, this is it? Hey, to be fair, it's better than MJF's typical storyline of, you want a rematch? Oh, you want a title? Well, here's 5 things that I'm gonna throw in your way, and you have to accomplish all of these. And it just so happens that the pay-per-view is 5 weeks away. I mean, which is fine, but that could be overused. They're using this eliminator tournament as, well, now you're a tag team. And then we get the other trope, which is, can they coexist? But I trust both performers that this is going to be actually entertaining between the two of them. And I think you're looking forward to the next month with them two more than anything else.
Yeah, I love Adam Cole so much and his promo skills, and especially him being presented as a babyface, but a babyface that hasn't really changed. The only thing that's changed about him is how much we accept him now. I think it's going to be really fun. But I think like on a different level, where some people are saying, "Oh, we just did this with Sammy," I think this is a continuation of Sammy. Like, MJF needs a friend. Like, he was paying Sammy to like lay down, but more than anything, he was paying Sammy to be a friend. So this is kind of like MJF's lonely at the top type thing. I'm just making stuff up here, and I know that this isn't what it would be, but what I would like to see is him try to then next befriend Darby, and just kind of trying to like just shoot for friends amongst all the top guys.
Yeah, but I don't think that fits. I think the dynamic is different. That if we take a look, and especially MJF, the performer, so he's much smarter than a lot of wrestlers on how to lay out stories and everything. That his relationship with Sammy is he's better than Sammy, right? Sammy's young. Sammy's not younger than him, but in canon, skill wise, Sammy's an up and comer. MJF is he's
Yeah.
he's the only pillar, right? He's like, I don't know why these other guys are like, I'm way above everyone else. So he views Sammy Guevara in that whole thing leading up to the Four Pillars match as, yeah, you're gonna lay down for me. Like, I'm obviously better than you. I don't necessarily respect what you do, right? I don't think you're a very good wrestler or anything like that. Yeah, like I'm gonna get there's no room in the car. Remember? There was no Sammy's like coming, it's like, oh, there's no room in the car, right? Because he doesn't view that. But if you take a look at the beginning of the MJF Cole feud, MJF was like, dude, I watch your tapes, right? Like, Adam Cole, big fan of Adam Cole. Like, dude, I loved you growing up, right? I watched you in Ring of Honor. I studied you. Where is that? Now we get this guy, right? He said, like, where's that guy? I loved that guy. And then that progressed to the half an hour time limit draw where Adam Cole proved to MJF that he's still that guy. And MJF even admitted in a promo, you know what? We finally saw that guy. And you know what? Took me to take it out of you, right? Like, obviously, the heel is going to say, well, only because of me, right? I'm going to take all credit for this. And then now they're paired together. The dynamic isn't the same with Sammy or Darby or Jungle Boy or any of the other people. Like, he views Adam Cole as like he's the guy. It's like him and CM, very similar to CM Punk, of like, no, I looked up to this guy. So now that he proved that Adam Cole proved that he's worthwhile, that he remembers him. Originally, he didn't want to be in a tag team. And a lot of times it's MJF complaining that, wrestle every week? Are you fucking kidding me? Right? Mm-hmm. But now that now that we have to be a tag team, it's like, well, dude, I consider you my equal, right? I consider, like, I want to hang out with you. Because now I'm not with Adam Cole. I'm with Adam Cole from 2012. Adam Cole. Right. Like, he's looking at that. So now I want to be friends with that Adam Cole, just like he wanted to be friends with CM Punk, right? And then, but you let me down. I wanted to be friends, but you went away, and you, right? He hates CM Punk because of that. Now we're seeing that play out with Adam Cole. That we see him on the fucking Twitch stream. He's tweeting stuff out. Like, MJF is great at that. Like, I'm gonna call into Adam Cole's Twitch stream, and Adam Cole's gonna be like, max their boundaries. Right? Adam Cole's the one. I think that's the more interesting dynamic in the story that makes it entertaining. It's not Adam Cole trying to chase down MJF and go, hey, man, why aren't you taking this seriously? Let's win a tag title. MJF is like, I'm better than that. It's like, okay, we've seen that from MJF before, right? It's just like, okay. Now we have it on the other side where MJF is like the one going, no, Adam Cole, can you like me? Can you like me? And then Adam Cole is like, this guy's an idiot. This guy I don't like. I'll play along, right? Does he even watch the show? No, he ain't watching the show. So it's okay that we could talk with the invisible camera here or whatever. Right, to Roddy Strong. I think that having that play out is so much, to me, a much better dynamic. I think by the end, it makes more sense that MJF catches on, and then MJF does the same thing that he did with CM Punk of like, you betrayed me, hence I must kill you, and gets really vicious. Like the week or two before All Out or All In or wherever they plan on doing the title match, he ends up like really hurting Adam Cole, going, I found out you're just placating me. They go for the tag titles. It's MJF and Cole versus FTR or something, or the final of the Eliminator, and MJF says, screw you, Cole. And then pulls a Shayna Baszler on Ronda Rousey, where we actually see it coming, but MJF does that to Cole. I think that's more likely. I think what I laid out is a little bit more compelling than if they played it as MJF being like too good for Adam Cole.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I hope that it's something a little deeper than that.
So what do you want to see?
I don't know. I genuinely just want to let it play out. I'm just having fun. I don't fantasy book as much as you do, just because I don't know Anytime I tell you I have an idea, you're like, no, that won't work.
Well, sometimes it won't work just because of booking reasons.
I know.
So it's like, oh, they would never do that because that. How do they make more money? That this guy's gonna Sky Blue just upsets Tony Storm on a random rampage for the title. It's like, yeah, that's not the way wrestling companies book. Like, it's perfectly fine if that happened. I mean, perfectly fine. Just like that's like, don't get that in your head of like that being a possibility because like that doesn't make sense from their perspective. From your perspective, you're fine. Okay, you don't mind just random stuff happening. It's like that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, so I don't have any idea or inclination of what could happen. It's just I almost feel like a lot of what MJF does is a bit on the unpredictable side. So instead of trying to chase down the ideas of what I would like it to be, I'm just going to enjoy it because of how much I like Adam Cole and how good MJF is. I'm ready to just take in whatever it's going to be. Obviously MJF is going to retain the title. Adam Cole isn't going to win it. So just kind of seeing how that goes.
Do you think that was going to do a musical number?
I would die if they did. It'd be my favorite thing ever because goofy wrestling for life.
Right? You want it to be funny.
Yeah. I want it to be. I think Adam Cole he's funny too. And I think they have the potential to make this an amazing thing that can be, just like this will go down as always one of my favorite promo exchanges where they just trolled each other. All they did was give remarks that they get online. Their kind of first promo together. So these two have like the capability to have a really smart, funny feud.
Right, especially when they got paired together and they both told Tony Schiavone to shut up.
Yeah. Oh, that moment was so good. Like yes, just those tiny little, and then we could see, I guess one thing I would like to see is for Adam Cole to kind of be exposed to maybe he's not as different from MJF as maybe he thought he was, like kind of with those little small things where he is manipulative and he is kind of a dick. And
yeah, but Cole has heat with Schiavone in canon as it is.
Yeah.
Because of Britt Baker.
But also, like, Adam Cole hasn't changed. Adam Cole isn't like a different person since he's been back.
Well, kind of. He's not doing any heelish actions anymore.
What heelish actions did he do before?
He
cheated all the time. I can't remember.
Crap out of the Young Bucks to not be in that tournament with Red Dragon a year ago. That's how they wrote him off. Remember, they had to bring him back even after the concussion to say why isn't this happening? And then they turned on the Young Bucks, and then Adam Cole's gone and then Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly got injured, and Bobby Fish got released, and it's like, well, I guess the Undisputed Era is we're not getting that anymore, right? And the thing that the downside of how Tony Khan is that some of the things that we want to see that he probably plans on seeing, he waits so damn long that the stuff happens that maybe you don't get to it. So just get to it, for fuck's sake. Please get to it.
That's the thing about, in comparison to WWE, we don't expect to get the story told. In AEW, we do. Sometimes it will just literally take a year and a half to have the story finished for no reason. Like Swerve and Keith Lee, like literally we're a year later and we know it's going to happen, but no one cares at that point because we've said that Tony Khan, he doesn't scrap ideas. He just pushes them on the back burner and then does a bunch of other stuff. And that's kind of what we were hoping Will Washington is going to do. So he stops putting stuff on the back burner for a year. So yeah,
sometimes they can't help it. I mean, Chris Statlander getting injured literally stopped the progression of Jade Cargill's character for 9 months. It's like, dude, she got injured, so move on. Do something else. Come up with something else then. But just, dude, it's an ACL injury. It's not like, oh, she'll be back in 3 weeks type of thing. It's like, dude, she's not going to be back for 9 or 10 months. Like, people got to move on and do stuff. And then the other thing is, oh, we could get to Danielson versus Omega in an actual match rather than the one they had at Grand Slam. You sure about that? Right. Fucking get to it. I mean, like, You don't want the legacy of your company being that, oh yeah, company was around for, 20 years down the road. It's like, you know who was on the roster at the given time? These 6 people, and none of them had a match against each other. And you're like, how is that possible? How is that possible? Well, this guy got injured, and then that guy got injured, and this guy left the company because of a contract dispute. And then you go, well, how come they just didn't? They were there together for a year and a half. Just why not? Why not just do the match? Just fucking do the match.
Was it Danielson in that interview that said like that there are people in AEW that he hasn't wrestled that he wants to, where he's saying he never wrestled Pac, or was that someone else?
No, I think that's Danielson. Yeah, Danielson and Pac have never had a match. Orange Cassidy and Danielson has never had a match.
So stop relying on storytelling and give Danielson some dream matches just for the sake of having a match on TV. Who cares the reason at this point, right? Because every time he gets into the ring on a big match, he's getting injured. Right. He's only like every time he wrestles, he can't wrestle for like 12 weeks after that.
To be fair, they are getting finally next week to Punk versus Samoa Joe. It may not be a matchup. Obviously, once you mention CM Punk, it's like to you, it's turn the channel time. Right?
I know for a lot of people, though, it's going to be really good.
Right, because it's okay, this was one of the biggest rivalries, if not the biggest one in Ring of Honor history. They haven't faced since then. They're both in the same company. How does this match not happen?
Yeah.
And they're getting to it with Punk coming back like right away. And I think truthfully, I think it's a way more to placate people from. I don't think the Omega versus Punk match is happening anytime soon. So let's give him this, right? Let's hear Samoa Joe versus CM Punk in a rematch from 18 years ago. Like, there you go. Okay, don't think about me versus the Elite anymore. Like, whoa, smoke, mirrors, everything. But really, I do you think, for you at least, that the longer and longer that Punk is back and he shifts to another storyline, maybe MJF, because he still has that old title in the bag, that are you going to be distracted too much or at all by seeing the storylines play out, going, this is really good, but where's CMFTR versus the going, when is that gonna happen? Like, the hope of even that gonna happen, because that would be the biggest match in probably AEW history. Would you be, if it's 6 months from now and we're still at the point where we are currently, are you ever going to be like, oh, well, Kenny's doing this over here and Punk's doing that over there, and then people on Twitter try to look at the nuggets, because we know the Elite, they throw in stuff. It's like, does that mean that was that an attack, dude? I know you go through interviews and you go, was that a dig at CM Punk? What Kenny, what Matt Jackson said, was that like an inside joke or anything? So it is a distraction. So would you be disappointed if it's now 2 or 3 years later and they never got to that? That's it ends up being that they just were kept separated for the entire time, and Punk retires, and that just never happens.
Well, yeah, because you know that I think that the separating them is kayfabe. I don't think that they're.
Oh, so you think this is all work anyway?
Well, yeah, I've already said that I don't think. I mean, maybe they are being separated, but I think that that's for the sake of the story.
So you think they're all at Wendy's? You think that they all went to Wendy's, right?
No,
right.
They're definitely not.
They're all right now hanging out at Wendy's, right? They're singing "Baby Back Ribs," the Chili song together. CM Punk and the Elite. They're all laughing about this, and they're reading all the reports and everything. They're coming back, going, "Oh, look at us, working everyone." You think it's that?
No. And I already lost my train of thought, but I think I'll start asking myself that question after Wembley. I think that that's where it's happening, because why not? I don't know.
I think Omega Osprey 3 is happening at Wembley.
Yeah, that too. But I don't know. I'll start asking myself that question eventually. I don't think the way that I didn't believe Cody was at WrestleMania until his music hit, I will believe that this match will happen until the day it doesn't.
But you
So,
didn't believe Cody would be there even at WrestleMania?
no, no, remember? Like I was like 90% sure, but I even told you I was like, I'm not gonna believe it until I see him. Like I was afraid to walk out of there disappointed because I love Cody. So, um,
To me, the
and,
only
and
question for that was, were they going to allow Cody to keep his presentation?
mhm.
And they kept it to a T. Like, to me, that was the best moment of, oh, it's the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. Okay, it's what his character should be. But I wasn't under any intention when Seth Rollins comes out, and I'm like, okay, let's see what Cody looks like. Let's see, is it Kingdom, right? Is it all of that? You were still at that moment going, dude,
I'm
if
just gonna be happy if he shows up.
right. Like, you're perfectly expecting that this could just be, you know, Jonathan Gresham. And be like, okay. I just had to
Yeah.
probably just pull a name, just a random name that wasn't in WWE. Like, this could just be anyone. And
Yeah.
you would have been like, okay, I'm not
Yeah.
surprised because
Because I
probably it's
don't
not
trust Steph.
Cody.
Yeah. But I think that kind of in regards to that, I'm going to always believe that this is something that they'll figure out. As many people have said,
But what's the
the
money? They
money's
get paid a salary. Who gives a fuck?
I don't know, like I guess because that's the shit I hear on the podcast. Like it's too good to not. You can
Well, it's
make
too
money
good to
off of
not do
it.
from a Tony Khan's perspective.
Yeah.
But I mean, they get paid guaranteed money. So, like,
Yeah, but I mean, couldn't that match sell out a huge stadium though?
yeah, but what does that
Genuinely?
matter to CM Punk or the Elite? Do
I
they get any
mean,
piece of that? They're getting paid a salary.
sure, but the Bucks and the Elite just renegotiated their contract. So, I
Well,
mean,
that's not signed yet. I don't. That isn't definitive. There's some
yeah,
people out there that think that the Young Bucks are going to WWE, and I think that's
they're
it's
stupid.
stupid, right? Yes,
Right, yeah.
and I think that's much different than Cody. Like when the whole rumors are like, oh, Cody may be leaving him. Cody's going to WWE, but he started the company. How does he leave? Like, from a performance perspective, Cody Rhodes fits in WWE.
Yeah.
You have to admit, even though you
Hmm.
got exposed to him in AEW, that his
No, he does.
style
He
of
fits
match
better.
and promo fits totally in WWE more than he
Hmm.
did in AEW. But the Young
And
Bucks don't fit. I mean, their philosophy on wrestling is like WWE is the antithesis of that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. They're not that. They just don't make sense there. Their gimmick would not work there. I mean, if you think that they're going, that's stupid. They would go open a different company if they didn't want to work for AEW. They would just open a different indie scene or something. So that's absurd.
And I think the same thing with Kenny Omega. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
see.
But you don't think that the Punk coming back, I mean, they were privy to him coming back, and you don't think that that was part of their contract negotiation?
Well, I think with you talking about Kenny and the Bucks.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't signed anything yet.
Well, exactly.
So
So
I
when
think
we're saying that a feud with Punk could,
Oh, so you okay? So what you're saying is you think
I'm
that that the Bucks are using the animosity between them and CM Punk as a leverage tool with Tony Khan saying, like, hey, if you want us to be in the same company as this guy and to have a match with this guy, double our contracts. I mean, like they're using it more for that. They're perfectly fine working with him, but
Mhm.
because they're at the end of their contracts, they're now using it as leverage.
Yeah, I don't know because I have a very different mindset, right? Like people say mean shit to me about my character every night at my job. But to me, it just like the shit that CM Punk said isn't like unforgivable. Like, and I mean, his actions were really bad. And you know that that's not why I don't like him because I think everybody is entitled to a public meltdown. Being a human is really hard, and I almost have empathy for Punk because having to carry the weight that he puts on himself that he needs to carry, like it is hard. So I don't know. I think that they could maybe. And I don't understand business. I just know that at some point they could be like, hey, if we're going to do, for example, Wembley, I want put it in our contract that we're getting X% of that gate because it's going to be this fight that people are coming to see. I don't know that, but I'm just saying like there's potential for growth within the company.
Of
And
course,
so
it
that
would be
incentivizes Tony Khan to make it work. Like, what's
right.
it going to take? Have you ever seen a grown man be like, I'm going to stay mad over money? Like, no, you're going to take your money and then get over it.
Yeah, but so look at the people involved with this,
True.
right?
Will Ospreay knows that CM Punk is a fake, so
Well, you're reading into what he said.
no.
See,
Yes,
that's
I
what
am.
you do. You do
I
that.
do.
Anytime someone else talks about anything, you just are they really saying something about CM Punk? It's like you have this agenda of
I do.
like any wrestler that talks about anything is like that is in the orbit of like the elite. Is like, was that a dig? Was that a dig?
Sometimes it is though.
Yeah, but you're right. Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But I think you're looking at some. You watch BTE and you're like, okay, there has to be like 5 Punk references in this somehow.
That's not
And
true at all. That is not true. You're making shit up.
but obviously they did it that the Young Bucks match, if you remember the trios match when they were in Chicago
Yes.
last year, and they obviously were making fun of some stuff, but you just
Yes.
it's constantly.
You can't even give 2 examples of when I do that. You're like, you do this constantly. You can't even
2
give
may
2
be constant.
examples.
2 could be a lot. Two is more
No.
than one.
And I will die on this hill. Will Ospreay was talking about CM Punk because he's like, he lists everybody's name but Punk, and then he also said you can smell a fake. You can smell a fake.
And you're going to be making you're making a Will Ospreay shirt,
Yes.
not a cup.
I watched his interview with Chris Van Vliet that came out last month, and he said that people are saying that they want a shirt that says "bruv," and because he says it a lot, and it's super cute. And so I'm gonna make a shirt that has his like this thingy, and then it's just gonna say "bruv" on it. Because he said that he just made this up because he was just needed a cool hand signal.
So you're making a shirt, but not a cup. Because you make both of them. You can make
Yes.
everything.
Yeah, I make it all. I can make a
Right.
card too.
Right. If you want custom cards, cups, shirts,
T-shirts.
anything to be made, designs, anything like that, at 5 a.m. Creations. Everywhere.
Yep.
So on Twitter, if it works. If you're not rate limited on Twitter, I think you can message. So
A lot
if
of
you
my
want
work
anything
is on
custom.
my Instagram, so
And that's 5 a.m. Creations also.
yeah.
Right. Not with the extra S anymore.
No, I fixed it.
Right. You took off the extra S. Right. You didn't need that. Right. You
Nope.
didn't need the lisp creations. And you can follow me at BlenderHD on Twitter, as usual. And subscribe to the channel if you this is the first time seeing this. If you enjoy this type of stuff, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. Obviously, me and John Alba will have another episode of Theory of Pro Wrestling coming out soon and every week. So subscribe to the podcast, TikTok, Instagram, Theory of Pro Wrestling, everywhere. So that was the week in pro wrestling, at least according to me and my wife, the casual fan.